Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of VCTV. I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott, and today we are going to be speaking about fundraising through social media and leveraging the crowd, if you will, for your fundraising efforts. We've heard more opportunities around this area over the last 18 months, and more particular, seeing a lot more activity or fundraising events happen this way. As investors, we've talked about this topic in a number of different ways here on VCTV over the last year, as we're seeing more deal flow come in all different directions, not just our inbox or in face-to-face meetings and events, as again, we all may be sheltered in place in some way, shape, or form. And so we're seeing social media start to rise with the likes of TikTok and Instagram and many others as well, continuing to power this movement. But we're going to talk a little bit more about that here in just a moment. But before we do, a big thank you to you, our audience, for tuning in. If you're liking what you hear today, make sure you click subscribe, share the episode, and also check out our archive on LATOKEN.com to see all episodes of VCTV and the entire VCTV family of investors and speakers that we bring together from around the world to share with you their thoughts and insights and on-the-ground perspective of different technologies, industries, and regions around the world. And if you'd like to be on a show like today as an investor or as an entrepreneur to pitch your company, product, or service and get real-time feedback from investors, do reach out to the team and or myself, and we'll find the right spot for you. Speaking of the team, a big thank you to the LATOKEN team and to Maria for making VCTV possible every single day. With that, I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott. Let's go ahead and introduce today's panelists of investors. Jason, welcome back to the show. A little intro, a little background.
Great. Thank you for being here, or for having me back here. My name is Jason Jacobson, managing partner with Propellant Ventures. We are focused on bold investing in companies really that are powering the future. Our main focus is seed and pre-seed investments throughout the Midwest of the U.S. in B2B industries such as healthcare, future, fintech, edtech, and supply chain. I've been very active in the entrepreneurial and investment community for about 20 years in the Midwest of the U.S. and a lot of great opportunities in this region throughout the U.S. And so, really wanted to capitalize on that and, support the region with all the different work that I've done. So glad to be here and can definitely share more a little bit later.
Wonderful, Jason. Thank you. And we're glad to have you as well. And with that, Gary, welcome back to the show as well. A little intro, a little background.
Yeah, great to be here, Kyle. Great to see Jason, Maria, the rest of the LATOKEN team. My name's Gary Fowler. I'm a serial entrepreneur and investor. I love artificial intelligence and quantum computing. I've done 17 companies, been involved in 2 unicorns. I was on the original management team of Click Software, which was sold to Salesforce 21 months ago for $1.35 billion. I'm also co-founder of Viva.ai, a unicorn in the AI HR tech space. Today, I'm the CEO, president, and co-founder of GSD, Get Shit Done Venture Studios, a Silicon Valley-based venture studios. We work on 2 pieces. One is we work on earlier stage growth companies through GSD Labs, and we work for later stage companies through GSD as a portfolio company. We curate companies from around the world. We have companies from Africa, from Australia, literally from around the world, Germany, Russia, Belarus. And the idea is that intellectual capacity is evenly spread, but opportunities aren't, especially during the pandemic. And we're out there to help those companies go global. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Gary and Jason. And just kind of kicking things off again, we're talking about fundraising through social media, and really social media today and the fundraising platforms that we all use also encompass a lot of activity around the crowd and using crowdfunding as a method of fundraising for your company. We saw the Reg CF recently grow from just over $1 million to over $5 million that you can take in from non-accredited investors. There's never been a time where there's more opportunities to fundraise from companies. As investors, though, I would love to ask each of you if you're using social media in any capacity for finding new deals, talking with potential investments that you may be looking to do as well. And I know LinkedIn is probably a huge one for all of you, but maybe outside of LinkedIn, but let's bring LinkedIn to the conversation. Other platforms that you may be using to communicate and find new opportunities. Jason, let's kick it off with you.
Yeah, obviously LinkedIn is a great tool. I've been using it since the beginning. I was in one of the first 8,000 users in LinkedIn, so I've been doing it really since the beginning. But beyond that, there are a lot of virtual platforms. I've been a part of a number of demo days or office hours. Some of the accelerators have invited me to those. I've sat one-on-one in these types of situations and met a lot of companies that way. Also, Lunch Club is a very good curated matching platform. I've met investors on Lunch Club. And, there's just all these other tools, but, I host 3D virtual founder night out events once a month. There's, you walk around with your own avatar, meeting people one-on-one. That's also a way to meet people. I've met entrepreneurs and investors that way. So I'm open to trying a lot of different platforms to meet people, since in-person is really not happening right now. And at my previous fund I was a part of, we were virtual or remote when we met with investors and entrepreneurs. We did our due diligence remotely. We met our investors remotely. We were industry stage and geographic agnostic, so we just couldn't travel, to meet everyone. But so this is fairly normal for me to talk to investors and companies on a remote basis. Of course, I do miss in-person interaction as well, but this has all just been accelerated because of our situation. And for some people, it's a paradigm shift. For me, it's fairly normal, except again, in-person is how I built a lot of my relationships over the years. So there's more and more tools and more organizations doing things remotely. So there are definitely ways, good ways to meet people that you may not have met normally.
That's a great point. I mean, I've seen the power of social media really be leveraged through investments in any time, in all times, right? Even when we were out at multiple events, I mean, we were still using social media platforms that were built for events to connect people and to meet new potential investments as well. But you're right, this whole situation has been accelerated over the past year because of the situation. But Gary, I want to come to you. I mean, you're dealing with companies as well all around the world. You mentioned in your introduction how you're connecting with all these different deals and have done them in different countries. How are you finding these? Are you leveraging social media? And if so, what platforms are you working with as well doing that?
Well, so, I mean, some of the things never change, right? So the PR and visibility around the world, being able to reach out, just like we are here in VCTV, be able to reach out to the far corners of the world. So when we do that, we have a lot of visibility. We write a lot. We're active on LinkedIn and Facebook. I mean, the thing is to get the visibility and get the word out. And especially now during the pandemic, it's really difficult for companies to go global. And at the same time, in terms of raising money, we talk about, being able to raise funds. Well, one of the ways that you need to raise funds is by developing trust. And the way you develop trust is for people know who you are, right? I'm a country boy from Pennsylvania. It's keep it simple. People need to know who you are. They need to know that you're real. They need to understand you've had success. And so you just got to highlight it. And so my thesis is that the companies that actively go out and use social media properly are the ones that are going to dramatically win during this pandemic and forward, because the digital transformation is upon us. We're not going out to lunches or dinners like we did before. In Palo Alto, I would go to Hobie's, and not a plug for Hobie's, but I like Hobie's. But I would go out to Hobie's with the VCs or the startups, and I would talk to them there. And that was really the linchpin of getting the thing moved forward. But now you've got to be active, and you got to write a lot. You got to be looked at as an expert in whatever area that you're trying to pitch. You got to be looked at as somebody that's got the knowledge and, more importantly, the success. So it's really a 360-degree view today.
No, it's a great point. I mean, setting yourself apart is something you have to be aware of and paying attention to as well as you're an investor out there. But Jose, I want to come to you next for the same question. I mean, as you look at new opportunities and deals for you and your investment thesis, are you looking towards social media, and which platforms may you be using in that process?
Well, I even dare to say that social media is the platform to raise capital in the future.
Hmm.
That's the way I look at it, especially because I've been talking constantly that the professional investors only cover 0.1% of all demand on the market. So there's no way in the coming 10 years that I see that that will be a big changer.
Mhm.
Not that the capital is not out there, because the economy itself has the available funds either stored in, a lot of types of investment areas, not only in VCs or private equities, but also the majority stored in pension funds. And yeah, obviously they have their own savings, etc. So it's not by accident that the crowd funding kicked off initially and had quite a success. And we may not forget that a huge amount of projects were financed through ICOs, and it's not a long time ago.
Mhm.
And all that cash initially came from private people that had made their money on essentially cryptocurrency market. So the way I look at it, if we want to look at it on a let's say a medium term, I say that social media is the tool to raise funds. And I'm not talking about huge amount of millions. I'm just talking about typically tickets like 100K, 200K, up to 1 million. That's what I'm.
But why? Yeah, I mean, also, I mean, as a challenge back in a good way is why not millions of dollars? I mean, if you now have at your fingertip as a founder the opportunity to reach out to so many people who want to connect, who want to talk, as both Gary and you and also Jason have mentioned, you could raise millions of dollars of your round and connect with individuals all around the world to do so. I mean, we've got more rising social media platforms than ever. I mean, you've got Clubhouse from an audio perspective, you've got TikTok to pitch your company, and in the reverse, you've also got investors on things like TikTok and Instagram and others promoting their services or promoting their thought leadership as well, showing who's out there. So there's plenty of opportunities. I think you're right, Jose. It's a place for you to get a little bit of your fundraising, or potentially all of your fundraising, or it's really just to meet investors that may be interested in your area. And Noble, I want to come to you next on this as well. I mean, are you using social media, and how are you using social media as an investor to find new opportunities or new potential investments?
Well, social media, right now we're doing social media, right? So you cast everywhere. And so we get a lot of companies who reach out to us as investors. But also as a company that helps company raise capital, we still use email, to be frank. Social media is great, and it's good to reach out and touch people. But we have a database of 900,000 accredited investors that we accumulated over several years, and we reach out to them with newsletters, and we redirect them back to social media to kind of get a better idea of the companies we're working with. The bottom line is, if you're not using social media to get your message across, you end up getting lost in the noise. And it's important for people to understand what your message is, what your why is, and where you fit in the schema of things to your competitors. Someone said, and maybe it was Jack Ma, which was really great. He goes, there's other people less qualified than you doing the things you want to do because they take action. And social media allows you to do that. It allows you to be present and forward in people's minds. Like right now, I'll give you a good example. One of the people that we're working with is an up-and-coming TikTok artist. Her name's Kai. She's doing phenomenal. She's got 65 million likes, 2.5 million followers on TikTok, and we're putting together a whole entire, to Jose Graca's point, we're putting together a whole package for her to be able to get her fans to start investing in her in some way. And so we're looking at how social media is changed. And she was an early TikTok adopter, before there was an opportunity to make money on it, before it was considered a big platform. And because of her being early and out front, she's been able to really be pulled into a lot of opportunities, a lot of deals, and create her value. And so we're going to build a whole entire NFT a component around her. So I think that, you know, you can't avoid social media nowadays. Look at Robinhood. You know, Robinhood was built solely on social media, and now because of Reddit and because of the Robinhood phenomena, we see GameStop making triple-digit returns. You know, in a company that people thought had died, and but yet the crowd, the social media component, is driving the force of that. So it behoove almost any company to find out what their platform is. I think the biggest thing done is people try and do too much. You have to pick one platform or maybe 2 platforms and then get your message out, and then social media really becomes effective. Like you said, there's a lot of them out there. You just have to find your audience.
Yeah, it's a great point. It was actually going to be my next question, because we're seeing the rise again, as I mentioned, of Clubhouse, so more audio-based social media and interaction. We've got TikTok. We've also got things like Discord. We're seeing more forum-based or chats, which is not new. I mean, we can go all the way back to IRC and many other, platforms in the past. But we also have Telegram. We have WeChat. We have WhatsApp. We have Signal. We have 100 different applications we can name right here that are all going to be or have been used in some way, shape, or form for investors. But looking back out to the crowd that's tuning in, what else and other advice do you have for those that are looking to do fundraising through social media to help them stand out? And Noble, I'm going to come to you last because you already kind of teased this out. But Jose, I mean, a quick piece of advice from you. I mean, whether it's an investor looking to start engaging with entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs looking to start engaging with investors, what advice do you have for them if they're looking to use social media in a more prominent way for those efforts?
So let me put it like this. So you cannot underestimate social media, because the amount of time that it consumes from any company, it's quite high. So I think one thing is getting those materials out and the communication, but the other thing is that you need to be constantly on it. It's not something that you can do easily in part-time. You need to have a whole team. So my advice would be get that team together, get the right people, that, especially a copywriter, guys that can design it, define a strategic plan, how you want to communicate, define the target market, which is basically the personas that you want to approach, because it doesn't change in essence how you raise funds. Today, when you raise funds from personal investors, you're not raising from everybody, right? You need to select them because they don't fit. Well, maybe it's the other way around. You don't fit in the investment criteria of most of the investors. So you better select them priorly and make sure that you fit into their investment criteria, because otherwise you're just losing your time. And social media is not that different, but you have a much broader spectrum, and the amount of people that are available to invest is much larger, but definitely with smaller tickets. The way we are solving it, which is coming out probably at the end of 2021, is that we're creating what we call a liquid equity marketplace for micro and self-individuals. They're very small companies, right? But this can be done on a much higher scale. On a private market, today you only have, let's say, more or less like public regulated markets. But I would like to see someday that we have markets that are just more people-driven, you know, and less bureaucratic. And getting you on these marketplaces costs a huge amount of money, because you are limited to brokers. You need to engage a broker, which is officially registered. There's so many around that the big majority of the companies is not able to reach. So social media, I would say that's the way to go, especially for the smaller ones. And get that team together, start making that strategic approach, get the copywriter and the designers, start working it out, and start posting. And make sure that your funnel for the equity buying is set up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's a great point. I mean, from a company standpoint, you know, putting information out there and continually updating the world as to what you're doing is a huge helpful buy. I mean, if you just scroll on LinkedIn alone in your feed, you can see latest updates from companies, and something's going to catch your eye, and you may, go down that rabbit hole. Or on Twitter, or again, a number of these other platforms, as I think all of us have, and can probably tell stories of that as well. So there's definitely opportunities to do that, not just events, but also, again, using fundraising. And Jason, I want to come to you real quick on this. Is you do a lot of virtual events, and you go into these 3D virtual worlds that you mentioned in your introduction. And curious, do you see this as a new platform for fundraising over the next couple of years, or is it more just a kind of here in the now moment thing, and we may never see it again? I mean, do you see us going into virtual worlds and presenting and pitching our companies, or meeting people and and interacting and fundraising through them?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, as we talked before, all this technology has been accelerated. It was starting to go this route before the pandemic, and it just accelerated significantly. So, there's still plenty of 2D platforms out there that, I've met companies, I've met investors, and, there's going to be a variety of platforms out there. But, the 3D ones are more engaged. There's more engagement. Some of them have virtual reality headsets. And so I think it's evolving. At the events that we do, we have a startup showcase where we let companies pitch in front of an audience. And so, there's a lot of different platforms. We've been experimenting with that particular platform, and it seemed to work well. I also think in general with social media and all these tools, and you touched on it before, but it's branding. It's just all about branding and getting the word out about what you're doing, creating videos, having discussions like what we're doing now, and then sharing that with your network is extremely important for branding. And it shows that you're active, you're a thought leader, and you're out there meeting people. So I definitely think this is all here to stay, and there will be a hybrid approach. I mean, people do want to get back to meeting one another in person, but we've all realized this is more efficient, it's more economical, and you can engage with people in different ways that you may not have thought before versus an in-person event. So there's going to be some experimentation, but companies are definitely going to be exploring both, and people will do hybrid approach as well, where they'll do in-person, they'll do virtual, and they'll combine the two to enhance the experience. So I think we're just in the beginning stage of this. I mean, companies like Hopin who bought StreamYard, the platform we're using, have raised a bunch of money. They are starting to go on an acquisition spree. So, we're going to see consolidation happening in this industry. So a year from now, who knows what we're going to see? We'll still see a lot of platforms, but I think there'll be some big players in the market that may offer a multiple, a variety of tools and resources for people to choose from. So I'm excited to see where it all takes us.
Absolutely. Well, and even as each of you mentioned where you may be based, I mean, now you have the opportunity to meet companies everywhere and anywhere as well, which is a huge possibility, or huge potential. And Noble, I want to come back to you on the same question about 3D virtual worlds, but also gaming in general. Do you see these areas that you may be leveraging, or also you may be looking at for fundraising opportunities, whether you're in the game, you're in the virtual world? And I know this may sound like science fiction versus science fact, but again, Jason does this once a month or once a week. Apologies, Jason, but you do this on a constant and regular basis, interacting with founders. So it's already here. But Noble, same question to you.
Yeah, I just got invited to do an alt space to do a VR event. And, my patent is augmented reality, and, we're big proponents and believe that people are going to be wearing glasses, and that, us sitting around at screens is not going to be the norm come, 3 years from now. People will actually be seeing each other in virtual space in a myriad of fashions. So I don't think that that's long off. We're looking at 2021. This Christmas is going to be a big year of new type of untethered lenses and glasses. And we have the guy who has the contact lens who has been approved for the FDA utilization to be able to project stuff on people's eyes. All these things are here. And so it's only a matter of time where it's normative for people to see each other, just like the movies or Star Wars, where you're seeing people in holographic format. That's just where we're headed. And so, and you know, we've talked about it many times on the show, between quantum computing, visual science, and the nascent technology, virtual reality and AR is where it's at. So absolutely, you know, when we speak space in about 3 weeks, it's all going to be about to founders and potential investors and what they're looking at and how they're looking to participate. And it's just also a fun way to engage. You know, we've all been dealing with about 9-10 months of just pure screen time. So people look for a switch up, a change in the monotony of how we interact. So yeah, I'm absolutely on board with that as a concept. But, you know, to one of your earlier points is, you said there's all these different ways people access. You also have to find where the people are. Telegram, 100% of the people there are involved in crypto. You know, Discord, you have more of the tech. So when you start finding your localization of how you use social media, you start finding where your audience is, and that's really the key. And so if the audience moves to AR, VR, then that's where you go.
Absolutely. There's audience, and then also where you want to connect or who you want to connect with as well. And I think you're bringing up a great point. If you are projecting out there your thought leadership, audience is everything, as everyone has mentioned. Find your 1 or 2 platforms, focus on it, and go, go, go. If you are looking to connect with individuals, you need to go where they may be as well, to Noble's point. And Gary, I want to come to you on that as a perfect transition. AI. We look at artificial intelligence. Do you see artificial intelligence playing a role in our future fundraising process, leveraging the power of social or our social networks and social graphs to help us through these, versus trying to find each other in different networks, and instead leveraging artificial intelligence to help us and assist us in these fundraising processes?
Yeah, I mean, we're using it right now, Kyle.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's so in terms of, you know, the artificial intelligence, be able to go and pinpoint who I should target and start to actually generate information to them. I mean, the whole thing about getting out is I think Jacob had said, is that we need to go down through, or Jason, I'm sorry, Jason had said, is that we need to go down and we need to have it really hyper personalized, and we need to be looked at as a thought leader. So one of the things is, like, again, keep it simple, stupid, is have the approach. So whether it's LinkedIn, using LinkedIn as a network, or Facebook or other Clubhouse, but what you got to do is you got to be able to get out to that person and have an entire campaign set up. So what kind of things work? Send in an investor newsletter every week or every other week. What's happened substantially with the company? And you'd be surprised how many people really read it. The other thing is you need to write. So it's critically important that you write articles, that you get quoted in articles, so people can understand that you are a thought leader in the in this entire process. So these cross-functional, as AI, as we start to use machine learning and deep learning a lot more than we are today, having the capabilities to be able to aggregate information, to be able to better target, and quite frankly, you know, some of the technologies we've been able to work on at EVA. Imagine content creation. So creating content to be able to fire out. We can actually start to automate the process. Look at what just happened recently with the Frank Sinatra song, where they actually took the voice of Sinatra in the style of Sinatra, which words that were made up by the system. So it's really interesting how this transition has taken place. But you know, what I got to tell the startups out there today and the investors is that this is really a dawn of a new era. The pandemic has given us an incredible opportunity to be able to maximize our time and efficiency, and won't last like this forever, because people at the beginning of this pandemic, Kyle, and remember when you got started on this many months ago, now was it February, March timeframe, people weren't sure what was going on. And you can reach people like you've never been able to reach them before, because they're at their homes primarily, and they've got a lot more time. So that won't last forever, because people, you know, will start to understand it, and they'll start to maximize their time at home. So do it sooner than later. Get the word out. I mean, this is a great time for early stage and later stage startups, growth stage startups, to get out there. But they need to know who you are. It's not easy. Figure out who you can work with, what kind of advisors you can work with. people that are industry experts and leaders, how to connect with them, how to get them on your board of advisors, create an entire 360-degree view of your company that is all about trust. They need to trust you. That's how money is given.
Absolutely. And thank you, Gary. And I want to flip the script. So as investors, you probably are just slammed in all of your inboxes, whether it be email, whether it be LinkedIn messages, I mean, Twitter, again, all of these different platforms, you probably have a flood of messages coming in. So what advice do you each have for entrepreneurs really to stand out and pitch or reach out to you or any investor for that matter, and to not be just noise in a crowd? And Jose, let's kick it off with you. What advice do you have for founders looking to reach out to investors and really stand out against a very crowded inbox in most cases on all social media?
So the problem is always the same, is that a lot of founders, they believe that throwing out emails on a massive way, that they will increase their success rate. And in fact, that's the opposite, because first of all, a lot of investors, they will try to check on your title more or less what it is, and if it's not in their investment criteria, they don't even open your email to start with. And if they even open your email, then if you don't have something this is really directed to them, then and it's a generic message that you send out to everybody, then you're not getting into a good picture. So the investment community talks to each other more or less. I can tell you that I spend like a week, probably like 5 or 6 hours, just screening emails and messages that I get on LinkedIn, you know, to these deals. And a lot of these deals, because you know, I'm a nice guy, as people say, I send them to other people. You know, if they don't fit in my investment criteria, what I do is then, if I know somebody that normally invests in that area, what I do is I forward that to that person. So, but it costs me a lot of time to do that, and I don't think that a lot of people have that time available to spend on reviewing those emails. So definitely, what I would suggest is that before you send any message to any investor or any email, first I would just check what his investment criteria is and send him a nice message that it's dedicated to him, so that he reads it, and probably almost sure he will get back to you and you have success on that. So that's my suggestion how to do it.
Thank you, Jose. Jason, to you, same question. What advice do you have for entrepreneurs looking to pitch yourself or any investor for that matter to stand out amongst the crowd?
Yeah, to me, the same method still is very relevant, which is get a referral. Get a trusted referral from an investor, from a lawyer, from any service provider, from another entrepreneur. But those are the ones that really stand out because those are personalized. And the network is such an important part of finding investors, getting in front of investors, meeting good entrepreneurs. So, you know, email is still very effective, but you want to make sure you get a referral. And I agree with what Jose is saying. If you are going to get that referral, make sure it is something that fits in the thesis of the fund. So make sure you do your research. So, you know, I do get referrals, and if the entrepreneur mentions, you know, something about our thesis, you know, and they may fit into the thesis, you know, that shows they've done their homework, because we all have websites. You can find all of our information, and, you know, sometimes they may stretch it a little bit to make it fit. But the fact is, it shows that they've actually done their research. And if it comes from a trusted source, I'm going to take a call. You know, I value my relationships. I want to be accessible to my network. And, you know, Jose also mentioned if it's not a fit for him, he will refer it to other investors. I will do the same thing. It's important that investors share deal flow with each other. So when it makes sense and I have someone that I can share the deal with, I will forward it on. May not go anywhere, but at least I'm thinking about that investor and I'm trying to help that entrepreneur. I've spent most of my career supporting entrepreneurs. Before I went on the investment side, And so I want to help wherever I can. That's a core to our fund for our portfolio, but I am a resource. I'm accessible and approachable for entrepreneurs. And so I usually connect them with someone, or I will find a resource for them. I rarely leave them with nothing, because that's just what I've done my entire career. So again, either way, they'll get a good referral into an investor regardless. If you do reach out on LinkedIn, personalize it as well, be very clear and try to connect it to the fund's focus or the investor's focus. But there still should be a referral, I believe.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jason. And Noble, same question to you. What advice do you have for those entrepreneurs looking to stand out? I know that both you and Gary and all of us, again, get a ton of messages on a regular basis. We love all of them, and I know we can't get back to all of them, so apologies for those that have waited. But what advice do you have for those that maybe want to stand out a little bit more above the crowd?
Yeah, I've been helping people raise capital for almost 28 years. I have my brokerage firm. I ran my own hedge fund. I've raised money for myself. And so I end up coming with a 3-step process. I do get a lot of people who do reach out to me, and some projects are just really good. The first one, we'll look in and we'll pay attention to it, and I'll follow up and I'll see if it fits our thesis, as Jason was talking about. But then if it's Jose's point, if it's really something that it doesn't fit ours, and I know immediately of an investor to reach out to, then I'll go ahead and give them the information and just kind of say, hey, connect these two. I'll send an email, whatever the case may be. But we also, if worst comes to worst, we'll say, okay, we have this database. If you want to work with us on reaching out to our database of 900,000 accredited investors and maybe do a regular private placement or 506c, we'll help you with that. One of the things I think that most entrepreneurs, they'll do is they come too late to find money. And so their sense of urgency, they try and impress upon you for your urgency. And that's unfortunate. I've had a couple of calls this past week where people are in dire need of large sums of money, and unless they'll deal will end in like a month or 2 weeks. And I think that a lot of entrepreneurs don't realize that there's an amount of due diligence that needs to be done on almost any investor's part before they execute. And while you've been in the middle of your deal and you're dealing with these pressures, it never looks good to try and add those pressures on to the investors, because it's a turnoff for me as an investor, big time, that you've gotten to a point of where you can't handle your business and you absolutely need my money to come in. So, or you need us to do something immediately, because we need our own time to kind of sort things out. So I think that's the biggest thing. I think that entrepreneurs need to start looking for money long before they actually need the money. And that makes it easier and makes the conversations a lot more fluid and organic, and not so rushed.
Absolutely. And Gary, to you, same question. I mean, how can entrepreneurs stand out to you as you're looking at deals all over the world? And you're also raising a fund. You've got many different things you're doing. How can entrepreneurs stand out in your inbox and others?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I get a lot of email and messages. But what does make sense is you need to have a really powerful wow statement. And wow statements for me that are really interesting are what kind of revenue have they just closed, and some type of a statement, whatever. X company closes $2 million deal. That starts to get my attention. So the other thing is, one of the things that was discussed by Jason is the referrals. I mean, most of the VCs that I talk to and investors, the referrals just put you at the very top of the inbox. So how do you do that? Go down through your LinkedIn profile and figure out who you know that's a friend of that person, and have that person do the introduction. And you're dramatically higher probability that you're going to answer that person if somebody like that does it, because it's part of your relationship network. And you want to keep that relationship network very strong and powerful. So if not, you become one of the 1,000 that are out there, and the probability of following up is very low. So that's how we do it. If somebody wins contests, so if they're winning awards, whether it be VCTV or any of the other platforms that are out there, and they mention, listen, I just became number 2 or 3 or 1 in some type of award, and highlight it with that, I'm going to look.
Absolutely. And with that, thank you all. And I want to come back to each for closing thoughts. and of course, where you can be found on social media networks to make sure that those that are listening can reach out to you if you are a potential investor for them, whether it be in artificial intelligence, gaming, AR, VR, fintech, edtech, and health tech as well. So, Jose, let's kick it off with you. Any closing thoughts? And then, of course, where can everyone find you online on these social media platforms to continue the conversation and stand out in your inbox as well?
So my closing thoughts goes more or less to what I've been preaching all the time, is that somehow we as professional investors, with the whole ecosystem that we have, need to come up with a sustainable environment. An environment that cannot be as complex as it is today, that people just, before they're able to fit into any criteria, it can go up to, I can tell you that I had cases so that it goes up to 2 years before you are able to get to those funds. So it's not uncommon. And 6 months for fundraising is not a exceptional time frame. It's quite normal. And most people don't understand that it costs money all over that roadmap that you're going to play, and at the same time, it's a long time frame. So my concern is getting to a more sustainable environment that is able to surpass this. So you can find me on LinkedIn, with the framework that I use mostly, and just search for BIZMONI or Jose Graca, and with a C, and you'll find me for sure.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jose. And I know that you are very responsive also, you and BIZMONI as well. You post constantly in terms of content. So another good example of both sides of the table, if you will. Thank you, Jose. Jason, to you, same question, closing thoughts, and where can you be found online as well, those looking to connect with you either on social media or in the virtual world?
Yeah, I think you just have to be open to trying new experiences. And as one of the other panelists said, go where your audience is. So find out where the investors are hanging out, find out where other entrepreneurs are hanging out, and start to build relationships to get in front of the right people. So, you know, these tools, resources are here to stay, and it's only going to continue accelerating, and we'll see new things probably in the future as well. But for those that want to find more about me or connect with me, LinkedIn is the best place to find me. You can also email me at jason@propellant.vc. Thank you again for having me, Kyle, and LATOKEN.
Thank you very much as well, Jason. Gary, closing thoughts, where can you be found online as well?
Yeah, so, you know, consistency pays off. Make sure if you are doing your writing, make sure that it's consistent. Make sure that you use relationships in a positive way and develop the trust. It's a great time. So this is like a great opportunity because it doesn't matter where you are, because of the digital transformation, because of platforms like VCTV, you can really get the word out. So you can reach me on LinkedIn, Gary Fowler. You can reach me on Twitter, Gary Fowler. Love to hear from you. And I have my show every week. Stay tuned. It's on Tuesdays at 12 o'clock. And we have exciting guests and a lot of VCs. So appreciate the time. And thank you, Kyle, and thanks to the entire LATOKEN team.
Wonderful. Thank you, Gary. Noble, close us out. Your last closing thoughts here, and also where can you be found online as well to continue the conversation?
Yeah, it's easy to find me on LinkedIn, Noble Dracone. You can also message me on Twitter @Dracone, my last name. All I could say is, as far as closing thoughts, is that this is a great time to be an entrepreneur. There's never been more capital, more freedom to reach people, whether it's in accredited investors, angel investors, VCs. And so, you know, make bold moves and reach out. Thanks a lot to you, pals, VCTV and LATOKEN.
Thank you very much. Noble, Jose, Gary, and Jason, again, thank you for sharing your thoughts and insights on today's topic of fundraising in and through social media as well. And to your audience, thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what you heard, click subscribe on one of these sides. Share, also check out the archive on latoken.com. as well to hear not just more from our speakers today, but from all of the speakers here, a part of the VCTV family. And if you would like to share your thoughts and insights around different technologies, industries, and regions around the world, do reach out to the team and or myself, and we'll find the right panel for you to speak on. Same goes for you too, entrepreneurs. There is a virtual stage here for you on VCTV. We would love to welcome you on that to pitch us your company, product, or service, get real-time feedback from investors on that as you continue to grow your business as well. And speaking of the team, a big thank you to the LATOKEN team and to Maria for making VCTV possible every single day. With that, I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott, and you can find me everywhere online at Kyle Ellicott and all social media platforms, everywhere as our speakers mentioned. And thank you, Gary, for the thumbs up over there. Noble as well. Thumbs up all around. Definitely reach out to all of the investors that spoke today, including myself. And again, do remember to add context when you do, so you have an extra leg up to stand out in those inboxes as well. With that, we'll be back here with more VCTV in just a little bit. Talk soon, everybody. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.